totally forgot to make a Zoom, and I don't want to mess with it right now. Alright. So chapter 25. You should be on page 158. Give you a second, Lucas. Everybody should have their book open. So chapter 25 is called What Loretta Said. I kind of wouldn't have thought maybe Loretta would have been much back in this story, but okay, I guess she might be making an appearance in this chapter. That was a year ago. Okay, so we already know it's going to be a pretty good update then if it's talking about a whole year later. I hid in the down under for days and days and kept the door closed, which is why I missed the funeral and the fair Gwen going away. Graham told me about it afterwards, how she couldn't stand to live in the house with Kevin gone, and who could blame her? Grim threatened to unscrew my bedroom door, but he never did. He just kept saying I should come out for Graham's sake, and sometimes she'd come down and say I should come out for Grim's sake, and so on and so forth, until finally I gave up and came out. I don't know if this makes sense, but for a long time I felt like I was a balloon and somebody had let the air out of me. I didn't care if I ever got the air back, because what does it really matter if we're all going to die in the end? What would be a word to describe that kind of feeling? Depression. It sounds like depression, doesn't it? Now this is more of a situational depression. I mean, somebody very close to him just died, so of course you're going to feel very sad for a while, right? Where sometimes people have depression and they don't necessarily have a reason. It's more of just a biological thing, a hormonal thing maybe that makes them feel that way. But his was because of a reason. That's how down I was feeling and sorry for myself. Grim tried to tell me it isn't how long you've got that matters, it's what you do with the time you have. But that sounded so lame and puny next to Freak dying that I just didn't want to hear it. This one day, just before school was supposed to start, I was moping around the backyard and thinking again how pointless and stupid everything was, and Grim comes over and says, "You know what, most of us go all the way through life and we never have a friend like Kevin, so maybe you should count yourself lucky." "Yeah, right," I say. "Suit yourself," he says, "but let's get one thing straight. You're going back to school if I have to hitch a rope to the bumper and drag you there. Is that clear?" So I went, and I hated every minute of it, and especially hated how people kept feeling sorry for me, as if it was me who died. Finally, one time, even Tony D came up to me and said it was a shame what happened, and I could see that he really meant it. And I just blew up and told him that if he ever felt sorry for me again, I'd put him head first in the mill pond and pound him down into the mud like a fence post. So we're enemies again, which is just the way I like it. Not too long after that, this was winter by then, I saw Loretta Lee in the street. She still had on the neck brace and you could smell booze on her breath. But what do you expect? A miracle just because she lost her head and acted good for a couple minutes? Anyhow, Loretta sees me, and she says, "Did you hear about Gwen? She's in California, and she's got a new boyfriend. His name is Rick, and they're crazy about each other. Ain't that good news?" "I guess so." "Take it from me," she says, "it is. So what are you doing these days?" "Nothing." She gives me this long look, and she goes, "Nothing is a drag, kid. Think about it." I thought about it all the way home. That night I pulled the pyramid box from under the bed and got the empty book out of the pyramid, and I'm thinking, who are you kidding, Maxwell Kane? You haven't got a brain, and that's the truth, the whole truth. The unvanquished truth is how Freak would say it. So I wrote the unvanquished truth stuff down, and then kept on going for months and months until it was spring again, and the world was really and truly green all over. By the time we got here, which I guess should be the end, I'm feeling okay about remembering things. And now that I've written a book, who knows? I might even read a few. No big deal. What do you think kind of made him start to change right here at the end where he decided to get the book out and start writing. What did Loretta tell him that made him... What, Lucas? Yeah, well, she was kind of like, nothing's a drag, you're doing nothing. What else did she tell him about, though?
Oh, Rick?
She told him about Rick, who was who?
That girl's boyfriend.
Gwen's boyfriend. So she told him about Gwen. And how is Gwen doing?
Horrible.
Sounds like she's doing pretty good. She moved to California, she's got a new boyfriend. She sounds like she's doing better. And if I was going to be Max, and I heard that, I would probably think, maybe it is time to move on a little bit. If Gwen can move on, and this is Kevin's mom, who we know loved him, then maybe he should try to start moving on too. And that's kind of what I was feeling like he was probably realizing that. And I think Kevin was smart to give him that blank book because writing, if somebody's really sad about something, sometimes writing it down helps you work your way through it and kind of get past it a little bit. So I think that's neat. And so I think this book is the book was Max telling the whole story, right? So I think this book was probably his telling of the story. So it was almost like that, what he wrote in the book is what we just read. Does that make sense? So then we have Freak's Dictionary. Now I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it's kind of interesting to see some of the words. I wonder if if anything will stand out to us. Let's see. Butthead, one who can sneeze a hot dog through his nose. Brain, a muscle that improves with exercise. So who do you think he was trying to get to exercise his brain? Max, right? He wanted Max to read and to do stuff. Book, a 4-letter word for truth serum. So that's where he learns the truth about things, including, they said he looked up his disease in a medical dictionary, right? Copacetic, the fair Gwen's word for everything is cool. So I guess she would say it's all copacetic. Down under, a land far away in Maxwell's basement. So these are definitely written in the way that Freak would talk, right? His description of the word. Gruel, whatever you want more of, because he would always say, more gruel, sir, whenever he wanted more food. He put his name in here, but it's about the unit of measure. A unit of measurement equal to 70 centimeters. I wonder if that's how tall he was, probably. Because we know he was very small. Max, a unit of measurement equal to 190 centimeters and still growing. So Max was more than double the height of Kevin. More than double the height. Got some chemicals in there. Writing, talking on paper, which is what he tried to encourage Max to do. Zit, adolescent eruption, not to be confused with teenage volcano. I wanted to say, let me see. So at the end, there's questions for the author. A lot of times book will have that. I was thinking that it talked about the actual disease he has, but maybe not. No, we can't. Alright. recording all of that.